Awesome, great, glorious day it is. This is the day the Lord has made, and indeed we shall rejoice and be glad in it. Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Umubanga podcast, where we aim to inform, transform, as well as inspire. And we continue to say thank you for nominating us on the Zamto Social Media Awards. So make sure you vote, vote, and vote. I think they're supposed to take place this month, but then Z, so we do not know when it will be. So, yeah. So our guest today, ladies and gentlemen, is a business development consultant, business and analyst, data scientist, digital media expert, and entrepreneur who is relevant in the times and season, versatile, skillful, creative, and professional. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together even as we welcome the one and only Dalitso Phiri.
Thank you, Dennis. Should I be shouting? Yeah.
Whatever works. Whatever works.
I love that intro. I love that intro so much. Too much.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, awesome.
I appreciate it.
So,
been a long time coming.
Yeah, long time coming. And actually, we had recorded last year.
I remember.
But then I think that was during the whole wedding preparation. I don't know how I lost that episode.
Yeah. Caught up in the frenzy. I mean, it's a new wedding.
Yeah.
And it's your first timer, really. Not that you're marrying again.
No.
But I do understand. I mean, so many things happening after the wedding.
True.
It's understandable, really.
Yeah.
I'm sure even wifey understands.
Yes. Awesome. Welcome.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Awesome. So, like, what have you been up to of late? What's like keeping you busy, like on a daily, like?
It's been very busy. 2025 has been extremely busy for me, and it's just been half of the year.
Yeah.
This is June.
Yeah.
So many things have been happening. I don't know if you've been following me a lot on my socials. I've been meeting so many people.
Yeah.
I decided to be more intentional in 2025 in terms of seeing how best we could get our company 2-3 notches up, Growth Innovate Ventures. And I must be able to mention this in case we didn't have this conversation previously. I'm trying to remember if we did. We're actually launching this year in November or December. I'm yet to set the dates. I think by July, those dates should be set. So trying to build momentum to that.
Okay.
So we've been meeting so many personalities, so many company owners, entrepreneurs, business owners, startups, mainstream businesses, large individuals, corporate individuals, and all that. So it's just been a marathon. So far, so good. So actually, I think when I get done with this, I have another appointment at 2 p.m. this afternoon.
Okay. Awesome. Looks like a busy day. Eh?
It's a busy day. So very busy.
Yeah. So for somebody watching this and they're like, who's Dalitso Phiri? Like, yeah.
Interesting question. Very interesting. Let me not begin it from the corporate side.
Okay.
Yeah, I think people need to know who I am, firstly. I'm a very versatile person. Yeah, I like people a lot. I like meeting new people. I like to see people progress in life. I think that's the nature that I am. I'm somebody that's very focused. You know, I love diligence to the things that I get to do. So whenever I find myself doing stuff, I make sure that I do them in the best way possible. Yeah. So if you gave me a task today, no, Dalitso, I want you to do A, B, C, D. I think it's something that I'll take seriously, regardless of who you are. Yeah. And for me, I think that's the value of people, and that's how much I value them. And I love family. If you've also noticed on my socials, I talk about my family a lot from time to time.
Yeah.
It's something that I value the most. But also, I'm a career-oriented person. Yeah, I believe that you have to contribute immensely to the development of the nation. And at some point, leave a legacy for whatever it is that you could have built.
Yep.
So I love to see how best I can improve people's lives. I love to see how best I can improve the way organizations operate. And I think maybe that's more the reason I even left my former employment. 2019, where I decided to pursue my own interests in terms of seeing how best I could dedicate myself into seeing how people and organizations can actually do things better every day. I'm more on innovation. I'm more on creativity. I'm more on seeing how best things can be done differently. And so that is my quest each and every day, to always see how people and organizations can actually do things differently, more conveniently, but very effectively at the end of the day.
Awesome.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, I think this is really who I am. I'm sure if there's a lot more that I'm here to say, I'll be able to say it as we go on.
Yeah. So walk us through your background.
Yeah.
And as you put it, you walked into the corporate space and then now went into entrepreneurship.
Beautiful. That's another beautiful question. I started work quite early, and that's very interesting that people that are watching would like to not. I have a very interesting journey. I completed my high school when I was only 16. Actually, I was barely 15, because I remember when I was writing my first paper of grade 12, I was just turning, I was 15 years of age, turning 16. And a month and a half later, I completed my grade 12.
Yep.
So if you do your calculations, I think I was 15 years, 13 months. If not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
That makes it 16 years, 1 month, really. So I was pretty young. And, I think after completion, there's that gap year that you normally get to stay.
Yep.
But I think for me, I had about 2 to 3 gap years. 2 to 3 gap years where I was trying to find my feet. But fortunately, in that period, I got to meet a lot of people. I got to do a little bit of stuff and trying to see how best I could expose myself. But I think my slight break came through around 2005.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's a long time ago, really.
Yeah.
It's 20 years ago, right?
Yes.
Where I found an opportunity to work for Zampost. Yeah, so I was working for Zampost, getting into the institution as a mere postman, mail processing mail. So I think it was one of those lowest jobs. So after the cleaner, you have the guard, then you have yourself.
Yes.
You can imagine how that was. Yeah, so one of my roles was really taking stuff, manual stuff, sorting mail, delivering mail and all that. But in the process, I got to recognize that I needed to upskill my education. And so I did that a year later, enrolled myself at the National Institute of Public Administration.
NIPA.
That is NIPA.
Here in Lusaka?
Here in Lusaka.
Okay.
Right here in Lusaka. That was in 2007, June. Yeah, there was an intake for, I think there's an intake for June that I got interested in, and I wanted to pursue accounting.
Yep.
So I enrolled for the Zika technician level.
Yep.
Yeah, and obviously I was trying to see how best I could get some opportunities, see if I could maybe be moved from that department I was in into something that I think I wanted to do. Because I think even from back in school, I used to do accounting, and I thought, maybe let me take this further, because I think I love numbers a lot.
And it was easy.
It was easy for me, very easy, really.
Yeah.
So once I got to do that, I went to school, did a bit of education up to certificate level. I think that was for the first 1 year, up until 2008 December. One funny thing that I think was very interesting was that I was a person within the institution that was very networked. I don't know, I found it easy to interact with people at all levels, both lower and higher. So it was something that I found very seamless for me.
Yep.
And so each time I would work, I would deliberately visit offices for my supervisors, management staff and all that. So deliberately just to say hi, I go into an office, I just say hi. Nothing really, but just saying hi.
Yeah.
So they got to know the kind of persona and character that I exuded within the institution. So it was a lot more easier whenever I got to meet them, even in other fora.
Yeah.
It was very easy for them to remember my name. You get it?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, Dalitso, hi. Oh, Dalitso. So it became easier for me when I graduated with my certificate level and the Zika accounting technician. There was an opening within the next department called Western Union Financial Services. And by then, Zampos was the largest agent for that particular service. Yeah, so one of the senior people there called me and said, oh, Dalitso, there's an opening here. You might want to take advantage. I couldn't think of any other person that could actually fill up that position.
Yep.
The immediate person I thought of was you. Oh, really? Yeah, so you might want to prepare to work. Are you interested anyway? So they asked me. I said,
So was this after you were done with your Zika?
This was after I was done with my Zika Tech.
Okay.
The technical level.
So, but you're still...
I was still studying, really.
But in terms of position, you're still post...
I was still postman, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. So when that opportunity came through, I wound up my responsibilities with the previous department, and that's how I was transferred to the next department.
Which was a promotion.
Which was a promotion in a sense. Yeah, so I ended up being in that department for like 4 years, from accounts assistant, because the position I was actually acquiring was accounts assistant. Then effectively I was promoted to assistant accountant. Then I was actually promoted again in 2012. That was 4 years later now.
Yeah.
Where I was effectively transferred to head office.
Okay.
Ndola.
Okay.
That is where the head office for my former employers is. So when I was transferred there, I think I was very excited because I thought that, okay, fine, I think I'm headed the right direction now.
You might reach CEO level.
I might reach CEO level. And by then I was thinking, okay, if I'm headed like this and I'm only in my mid-20s, I'm assuming within 5 to 7 years, it's very, very easy for me to be the finance director, even the CEO.
Yeah.
So really I had great
Postmaster General.
Postmaster General. And that's a very huge position, by the way.
Yeah.
Very influential position. But then what happened was around 2012, when I was transferred to the head office, I learned, that's why I think I learned the real accounting. Because I think I had a supervisor who was really on my neck, teaching me stuff and whatnot. I credit to her, she's listening to this, Eunice. I learned a lot of accounting from you. Yeah, but then when I was at the head office, I had another opportunity to transfer to the Eastern Province, where I was supposed to be regional accountant for the entire province. So now this one was big.
Yep.
I had to oversee 10 offices.
Yep.
And up to 50 people. So I was reporting to the regional manager functionally, I mean administratively, but functionally I had a reporting relationship with the head of finance.
Okay.
Yeah. And so again, they asked me, and you see, what's interesting about these promotions was not necessarily that I could have been looked at maybe on the basis of my qualifications, because I think I wasn't even necessarily qualified for that role. Of course, I'd upgraded a little bit in my studies, maybe up to second level. But I think the position I effectively held in 2013, and that of regional accountant, required somebody who was extra qualified than I was.
Yep. So meaning you needed your...
Maybe my full accounting qualification.
Yes.
But by then, I think I was only around mid.
But
50,
were
50.
you like a member of Zika?
I was a member of Zika already, because then for you to be in that department, you need to be a member of Zika.
Yeah.
Definitely, you know. And I had already practiced for 5 years already in accounting. But then I think what was interesting was my immediate supervisor was the head of finance, or the finance manager at the time.
Yep.
Noticed the work that I put in. You get it? I'm somebody I think that really impressed him a lot. And I think I took time to learn the departments. So I was not only restrictive to my department, finance or accounting, but I learned other departments as well. So I took time to go to HR department. I took time to go to legal department. I took time to go to real estate. I took time to go to marketing. You know, I took time to go to agencies. So many departments that the institution had, just to get to understand how things are done. And in the process, I think I had this round view of how Zampost operated.
Yep.
And for me, I think that really gave me a competitive advantage, where on almost every other meeting that we had, I would easily articulate issues from a very broader perspective.
Yep.
You get my point? So I think that took the notice of my supervisor. And when there was an opening in the Eastern Province, I was the immediate person that he called upon. And it wasn't that thing where I just receive a letter to say, you're being transferred.
Yep.
He called me to his office. I remember one day when I was knocking off at 5. Dalitso, come to my office before you knock off. I need to see you. So when I go to his office, I sat down in the chair. He was still working. Dalitso, I'm transferring the person that is in the Eastern Province, Chipata, to a Lusaka region. And so there's going to be an opening there. I was thinking that you would love to go to Chipata. Would you love it? So for me, and this was now on 2 occasions. Remember, when I was being transferred the first time, I was actually approached and asked if that could be workable for me. Then on this other major upgrade, again, I was asked. It was imposed on me, right? So I had every right to refuse. And for me, that was very interesting. I was like, okay, they're respecting my opinion, whether or not I should relocate. So when he approached me and told me that, I took that as a major privilege. I'm like, okay, I think they really value my work. They really value my input a lot. And I think it was very evident because in the short space of time that I was at head office for 1 year, there's a lot of things that I did that I think, in my opinion, was very influential and effective to the institution. And so when I was being transferred there, when I finally accepted, I think it gave me 2 days to think about it. Of course, yes, conveniently, I indicated it's okay, let me get back to you after a couple of years. After a couple of days. Then 2 days later, I came back and told him to say, okay, fine, I think I'll be traveling. And the time I was traveling, there was that connotation that you're going to a rural setup. You know, you're being transferred from Ndola, you're going to Kasama, you're going to Chipata. There's an upgrade, but it's a rural setup. So we would have a few sections who would be like, but how can you go to a rural setup? You're still only young. You're only in your late 20s, you know. For me, I think I was looking at career growth, which was important for me. And I knew to say, if for me to actually get to the level that I'm looking at, I should be able to take advantage of these opportunities that are coming through, right? And that's how I was transferred. The moment I accepted, they wrote me a letter, and I was transferred to the Eastern Province. That was 2013. And I remember when I was assuming that position, I was only 26. So going to the Eastern Province, I worked there for 6-7 years. I think that's the longest time I'd spent in the institution at one particular office. Because there my responsibilities, I think, were quite vast. I was not only looking at accounting per se, but I think my responsibilities cut across a lot of things, operations. Sometimes I look at marketing because then I had to be involved, I had to be part of developing strategies and all that. It was a beautiful thing. It was a beautiful experience. I networked myself. But I think there was a call that came to me somewhere around 2015 when I thought that there are certain things that I did without effort. And each time I appeared in several meetings in the district, I found myself seamlessly advising organizations and people on how they could do things, on how they could actually embrace modern practices, on how they could be relevant and stuff like that. So effectively, I was consulting for them for free. And a lot of them now began to call me. No, we wanted your advice on this. And by then I was still working, by the way. That was 2015, 10 years ago. I was still actively working. So I'd get organizations for small companies, and we're having maybe influential position holders in these companies that are calling me for certain advice and all that. And I would do that, not knowing that I was actually consulting for them, where I could actually be paid for that. But there was a different twist to my career. And remember, my career at that time was headed to be finance director or maybe even CEO for a large organization. But then in 2015, I had a friend of mine who called me within Chipata and told me to say, Dalitso, I've just been given this position at work. There's a construction firm. But I'm not very certain about how to do accounting. And I don't want to go back to the boss and tell them to say, I can't do this. And this is a new job from just being here for 2 weeks. So I need to show my best. So I was hoping that maybe you can assist me, just develop these systems for me and just teach me. You get my point? And so when he called me, I accepted. I was like, okay, cool. Come pick me up at 5 p.m. at work. And he picked me up. I went to his his workplace, looked at the systems and all that. And bingo. He loved what I did for him for that day. But I recommended to say, there's a lot of things that I could still do for your company. to make it operate effectively.
Yeah.
But then, if you are willing, it might take a few days.
Yeah.
Then, based off that conversation, he actually told his manager to say, well, I think we can set up a meeting. Then when we set up the meeting with his boss, we discussed a lot of things. And before I knew it, they gave me a contract. That was my first consulting contract I got.
Yeah.
2015 March. To actually develop something that was going to be workable for them. And by then, they had about 60 employees. So I didn't even know what to charge. So I had to go and consult. Firstly, they were looking for a bill, and how much I could invoice them. I said, okay, let me give you that bill tomorrow. So I had to go and consult friends. I've been given this job here, blah, 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 but I don't know what to charge and all that. No, I think you charge so much because that's your first assignment. So I charged a certain fee and I came back. I did the job. I gave them the invoice. They paid me a month later. But then when they were about to pay me, they recognized that I didn't have a company.
Yes.
But where do we pay you?
Yeah.
We're a company.
And we have
Do you have a company and stuff like that? Then I said, I don't have any. Okay, I can actually open one. Give me 3-4 days. Don't pay me. Hold on.
Yeah.
That's what prompted me to open the company at first. And it was called Dalitso Business Consulting.
Okay.
And so when I opened that, now that began to awaken the aspect of consulting, that you could actually be paid for it.
Yeah.
You get it? And so 2016, 2017, I began to meet different people. I positioned myself in a certain light that I began to be noticed in the consulting field. And remember, I was still working.
Yep.
I got to meet a certain guy called Noah, who was the CEO for the Eastern Chamber of Commerce, who noticed my work and just called me one day and said, Dalitso, would you be open to do resource mobilization for these organizations that we work with?
Yeah.
And I was open to that. I mean, I was trying to advance my career. And so give us your CV. So I gave the CV, and he was amazed at how much extensive experience that I'd gained.
Yeah.
Then he began to open doors for me. I found myself in an opportunity where I had to preside over some engagement that involved the permanent secretary for the Eastern Province, the mayor, the district commissioner, various heads of department, both private and public, and all that. Then I began to be noticed. The next moment, I was with the CCPC, facilitating an event for them. The next moment, I was with SOS Children's Village. The next moment, I was with Peace Corps. The next moment, I went to the council where I had to train over 1,000 marketeers in the Eastern Province. So within a short space of time, between 2017 and 2019, I really got to be very known in Sparta. Yeah. And I noticed that now that the consulting part began to take a toll on my day-to-day job. Yeah. So I had to make a decision now. So in making that decision in 2019, obviously there was still some factors in the background that also prompted me to leave my former employment. But in 2019, December, I made the decision to leave. And I thought, I'm spending more time in my consulting. I think this is the best decision that I can make. Okay. And that's how I relocated from Eastern Province, coming back to Lusaka in 2020, and kickstarted my career consulting. Met Galam Kani, may his soul rest in peace. He opened doors for me unimaginable.
But before we go to that, your entrepreneurial journey.
Absolutely.
I'm thinking through at what, 17? In that space, 17, 18, 19, 20, you were in class with some of your peers who excelled even earlier and went on to do big things. And we're in a time now where you have massive social media, with a social pressure, anxiety, you feel like you're being left behind. But what were some of the things which kept you going to push yourself to those limits where you excel at a young age? Because to me, it feels like there was already a drive. Where did you get that drive to?
Okay, I think I'd get this drive from my mom. May her soul rest in peace. Yeah. She died in 2003. My mother instilled immense values in us. Yeah. And my being from my mother, obviously, my being the firstborn, I want to qualify that. Yes. Okay. I had to take a leading role at an early age. Yeah, I remember quite well, even when I was in grade 12, I used to do part-time piece work whilst in grade 12.
Yeah.
So my mother gave me that opportunity that I needed to begin to learn the tricks of the trade early enough, even before I could actually advance to school and all that. So she was working for this boutique in Kitwe, one of the best boutiques at the time, and that I think that was around 2001, 2002. And so what would happen is that over the weekends, I would go with her for work, and I began to understand how money was made, how she interacted with people. I did that stint for the whole year on every weekend. I remember very well when I was in grade 12. When I closed during holidays, I would actually go and work for a month. So that drive really started from that point where my mom instilled those values that this is where the money comes from. So for us to eat and live here, this is where we get the money from. So sometimes it can be tough, but then you need to understand that for you to actually get the money, you need to work. And so I began to be exposed to that environment at a very young age. And I think that is really what caused me to still have the drive, even beyond grade 12, beyond high school. And even seeing other colleagues who effectively went into varsity, college, immediately after graduating from high school, I still thought, okay, fine, I'm not able to have this opportunity right now, but there's still a lot more that can be done, you know. And I was able to do that in that period of time. Of course, still looking for better opportunities in the process, but I still had that drive that I still got from my mom, because my mother was a pusher when she was alive. She would really push for stuff.
Yeah.
And she had that networking ability. And I think that's why I get it even up to now from her, because at a very young age, my mother exposed me to so many things.
Yeah.
She made me meet so many people. Even up to now, I'm very shocked that I'm here where you are. You know, I meet them. Sometimes they call me on my socials. Sometimes they comment, I was very good friends with your mother. Very good friends with your mother 25 years ago. I'm so happy to see you now. You know, things like that. So I got that drive from mom at a very early age, from as young as 12, 13 years of age.
Yeah.
That began to be instilled in me. And I think this is what contributed to who I was effectively later. Yeah.
Awesome.
Sure.
Now, coming back to your entrepreneurial journey,
Absolutely.
you navigate that, decides to leave formal employment. Was it an easy sale?
Wow, that was not easy. I'll be honest with you, you know, and I think you guys who are watching here shouldn't be cheated. Don't leave work. It's not easy. Don't. I'm not even a proponent of somebody saying, no, you should leave work. You need to follow your dreams, leave work. Of course, it's important, but I think you need to do that when you're prepared, when you feel you are ready. Leaving employment is not easy. And for me, there are several factors that led to that. Perhaps I might want to spill the beans a little bit. It's a podcast, right? I didn't mention this. When I was working, there was a time, if you remember quite well, we had a challenge in payment of salaries from my former employer. Yeah, it's public knowledge, really.
Yeah.
So there was a time I went and paid for 7 months.
That's you, regional accounts.
Absolutely.
How does that work? Like, anyways, because you're pretty much in senior management of some sort. Like so.
Exactly. So we had some liquidity constraints in the institution that made it very difficult for salaries to be paid. So it was something that management was trying to resolve, but then it had to do with certain decisions that had to be made. So we were caught up in that cocoon where a lot of people had to be affected. I was one of them. I remember at some point where, for example, I'm in the month of June and I'm getting a salary for the month of September the previous year.
Oh, wow.
You get my point, right?
Yeah.
So I sailed through for most of my time, the last couple of years of my employment, where I forgot about what a salary meant. So I'm going to work. I don't even know when I'm going to get paid. I go to work. I don't even know when I'm going to get paid. So I got used to not getting a salary effectively. Kudos to those that get salaries on time today, where you know on the 21st you're getting a pay. It's a privilege. But I got to a point later on where I forgot about what it meant to get paid. So that got to affect me immensely. I remember at some point where I really struggled a lot in 2019. I couldn't even afford to pay my rentals. Now you can imagine, you have not gotten paid for 7 months. 7 months,
Yeah,
literally.
that's a long
So how
time.
do you pay your rentals?
Yeah.
You're probably trying to advance your education. How do you do that? You have people that you look after that are also looking up to you. You know, you need to get to work.
Yep.
You need transport. There's so many things that you need, and then you can't afford them. So what that means then is that if you're not going to get paid for that period of time, the immediate thing is that you're going to go into debt,
Yeah.
right? So there's a time where I effectively went into debt to supplement my day-to-day living
Yeah.
because I had to live. I had to sustain my needs.
Yeah.
So I'm working, I'm not getting paid. I'm trying to push my consulting on the side. That is still yet to mature.
Yeah.
So that was a resultant effect. But then what happened is that when I was trying to grow my business in the background, I had to make a decision now to say, I have a full-time job
Yeah.
that is not paying me on time, that is owing me money. So what do? Do I still continue or I focus on my private practice,
Yeah.
going by the current conditions, right? And so I had to make a very hard decision of deciding to leave now. It wasn't the decision that I made within a few days. It took me several months to make that decision because, you know, when you're leaving employment, there's, you know, employment gives you some guarantee of tenure, and I was permanent at the time. So there's a guaranteed pension at the end of it all, and you have that security
Yeah.
that still comes through. And even though they were owing me, I knew at some point I was still going to be paid all my arrears, but I didn't know when. It would still take a year or two. But then how do I survive now? You get my point?
Yeah.
So I had to race through my mind and all that. I was pretty young at the time. I had to make a very hard decision, and the decision I made was like, you know what? The best decision for me right now is to leave. I have a company already that's been operating for the last 4 or 5 years. I need to direct my energies 100% on this because then I have divided attention.
Yep.
And so I left. I sold all my properties in Chipata. When I was coming back to Lusaka, I came back with books and clothes only. I came to start my life in Lusaka from the scratch. Yeah. And so answering your question, it's not an easy decision, but I think for me, there are a lot of circumstances that really made me to actually leave my employment. And I think these are the circumstances.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I know the cost of living in Chipata is different from the cost of
Very, very
living
different,
in Lusaka. The first few months or years navigating and setting yourself up, how was that?
Not easy as well. You know, when you're beginning a consulting practice actively, I had been in Lusaka previously, though, but in employment, but I was coming back running my own business. So those are two different dynamics, right?
Yeah.
So when you're coming here, you have to be very conscious because the moment you begin to, and remember, I'm coming from a space where I wasn't getting paid. I had accrued some debt. I had to sell my property to pay off my debt, right? And I was coming here without anything, literally nothing, nothing, books and clothes. So then I had to make a decision again. It was going to be easy for me to look for a space and start staying, but then I'm thinking, how do I pay my rentals?
Yep.
You understand, right? How do I pay my rentals? I need to eat, I need to what? I need to go visit clients, I need to prospect. All that will need money.
Yeah.
So I spoke to one of my sisters. And I think you know one of them, right?
Yeah.
I remember coming through, firstly, I was accommodated by my young sister, one of them, Loliwe Phiri. I stayed with her for a month. Actually, my sister, shout out to my sister, Loli, if she's listening to this. My sister even got me a sleeper couch. And now she was living in a small space.
Yeah.
So obviously, she only had a one-bedroom place. So I had to be in the sitting room.
Yeah.
So she got me a sleeper couch. that I could be accommodated on for a short period of time.
Yeah.
But then where she was staying was a bit further from where I would be prospecting from in terms of business. And so that meant that I had to accrue a heavy expense on transport every day.
Yeah. And Lusaka transport.
And Lusaka transport is not cheap. Yep. So I noticed that for 2, 3, 4 weeks, it was not sustainable enough. So fortunately enough, my other sister was actually moving to Woodlands, which I felt was a little bit more central.
Yep.
Yeah, oh, Dalitso, I'm actually moving. You might want to join me, you know. So I said, oh, cool, no problem. I could. And, you know, she really wanted me to stay with her. That she was just moving to a new place. And so it was fairly big.
Yep.
And she gave me a room. So for most men, it's not a very easy decision to make. You know, women have egos.
Yeah.
And especially you're actually even older than your siblings.
and you know, you might be okay with it, but then because of culturally and just the people we are found with, but anyway. And you know, the audacity to be like regional manager. Yeah.
Things like that. But then there's a question of swallowing the pride. And she accommodated me. Yeah. Remember, I came back with nothing.
Yeah.
Literally. So she gave me a mattress, not a bed, a mattress.
Yeah.
Because that is what was available anyway.
Yeah.
So I kept up for a few months, I think up to 7 months in trying to build my practice, trying to build my brand. Because then at that point, I realized I was not effectively paying any rentals, at least.
Yeah.
Of course, yes, I was contributing to food and all that. But it gave me that opportunity to repackage myself, meet new people. And that's the period that I met Felix Galam-Kanibanda.
Yes.
Yeah, I did a few things for him. He opened doors for me. I effectively met Dr. Rosia Siatwambu. I met State Council, not State Council really, I would say Council, Richard Jerry, he owns a law firm. There's so many people I met in Kwasemwale from NGOCC, CEO. So he really exposed me to a lot of people that effectively began to request for my services.
Yep.
You know, and in that period, I raised some money that made me now make a decision to move out, because then I thought, okay, fine, I think I'm stable now, I'm settled. I may not have the most money, but I think this is good enough for me to be in my independent space now. And that's how I moved. I think that was in 2020 December, after being with my sisters for almost 9 months.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So you spoke on Galamkani. We'll touch on that. So now, like, what were some of the steps you took to find your fit in terms of like establishing yourself? Because I know you're moving from a corporate organization where there are like all these structures around. You have the marketing department, you have all these things. So all you have to do is wait in your desk and wait for the figures to come through. But how did you navigate that?
Okay, so it's building a business, Dennis, it requires a lot of effort. Remember, I'm coming from a space where the platform is already there. You know, when you're in formal employment, literally the employer will provide for you almost everything.
Yeah.
Right? So yours is just basically to request for what you want. So now I want transport to move from point A to point B. You make a request and they'll provide that, right?
Yeah.
In most cases, you can even use the corporation's facilities and assets. I remember when I was working, they would even pay me education allowance to fund my education.
When you can even leave the organization.
When I can even leave, you know.
Yeah.
So when you're working alone, one thing that dawned on me that was very scary was the fact that I was stripping off my role. And remember, sometimes we cling to these titles.
Yes.
So I had the title of regional accountant, and I was respected for that title. So I would meet people, oh, he's a regional accountant for Zampost.
Yep.
He's a regional accountant. So yes, I was young. It was an influential position I had. Whenever I went into meetings, whenever somebody refers me to that, you know, I feel that pomp. But then I'm coming to Lusaka, and now I know that title no longer exists.
Yeah.
You get it? It no longer exists. So some privileges that I could have had while I was in employment no longer exist. So I'm just me now, Dalitso.
Yeah.
So I have to build me from scratch, right? I have to be known now as the CEO for Growth Innovate, not the regional accountant.
Yeah.
So that takes a process, and it's not very it's not very easy. It's actually very, very difficult. And answering your question, how I could have done that, I had to really go into spaces that would validate my position deliberately. So I had to create an itinerary of places I needed to go to, introduce myself, tell people who I am, tell people what we do, convince them, sell myself to them that this is who I am.
Yeah.
You understand the point? And that requires a lot of tact. It required a lot of skill. It required a lot of capacity. Of course, in the process, you have disappointments because you're going to meet somebody and they're not available. You're going to meet somebody, you spend money, and all of a sudden they tell you that they can't have the meeting on that particular day, and things like that. But it was part of the process. It was part of the process. I had to bite the bullet. So I had to engage my whole self into that and dedicate myself as diligently as possible. I had to be very focused. So if I'm coming to meet you, for instance, I remember I met you the first real time, not the time I'd come for photos.
Yeah.
But the time that I got to meet you for business was in April 2020. I remember when you told me, listen, we need a business plan.
Yeah.
But then that came through conversations that we had previously.
Yes.
I don't think you could have told me to do that without having the confidence, right? So there was some level of selling that I needed to do to you.
Yep.
I needed to expose myself to you. I needed to make sure that I was equally visible enough so that you could get validation from other people of what my capacities were.
Yeah.
You know?
And there was as well like a shared credibility because of science.
Exactly. Exactly, because of Zion and all that. And so there's a whole lot of that process that had to be put together to make sure that I was able to penetrate into organizations and just sell myself. So there'll be times whereby I get into this organization and they haven't effectively given me the job, but at least they know who I am. They know what my company does. For me, that was important. That's all. So sometimes I'd get to certain spaces where I know I'm not really getting a job immediately. It's probably far-fetched, but I just need to make them know who I am, and that's all. That's it. I get that number, it's in my phone, I can communicate from time to time. Oh, Dalitso exists. Oh, he exists. And that's it. And for me, that is a process of building a brand. And effectively, I think I built it in that period of time. And I'm here from that process.
Awesome. Yeah, so I think may his soul rest in peace, Galamkani. I want to touch it in this way. Your meeting with Galamkani, I know you knew him prior because of church and all, but now it was like more on a personal level. I know you were working on his brand, but as well, he was as well your mentor. So, like, walk me through that arrangement where you were working with this person, but as well, like them mentoring you and then now opening up doors for you to engage.
That's a very interesting
people.
question you're asking me, Dennis. If there's a person amongst everybody that he mentored, I think probably I'm the one that got the most privilege.
Yeah, you had direct access to.
I had direct access to
You could
Galamkani.
actually. I think when you're in Woodlands, you're just like walking.
No, actually, I would walk, and I'll tell you. Let me speak to Galamkani's thing. I'm very passionate about it.
Yeah.
Because I would never credit my consulting practice growth without attributing it to him. No. He's a major part of the process.
Yep.
Probably 70% of it. I remember the first time when I went to meet him in February on the 18th. I remember the date very well. Zion told me to say Galamkan wasn't feeling too well.
Yep.
And by then, I'd already been in Osaka for a month and a half. But I didn't share a very personal relationship with him. Remember, I knew him from a distance.
Yes.
We were at the same church. I would greet him, but we didn't have that personal relationship. So when she told me that he wasn't well, which I was aware of, you might want to find time to visit him. I said, I don't even know where he stays. Okay, no, I can take you there. So she took me there, and by the time we stayed in Umubanga.
Yes.
So when I went there, I found him on the veranda. There was a sleeper couch, and he was laying down. Dalitso, ulipo iwe? Uchita chani kuno? Sori uchipata iwe?
Yeah.
Awe, inenchito naleka. Nili kuno manje. And you know the way he would speak, with a lot of energy. And that was very amazing because he wasn't well, but he exuded a lot of energy, a lot of energy. And so we chatted. And for me, I think I was just really trying to find out what was the problem, how long he had been unwell, getting some advice and consulting and all that. And we had a beautiful conversation. But I think what really opened doors from that conversation that we had was the fact that he told me that he wasn't fully able to engage online because he wasn't well. And sometimes...
And he pretty much didn't have an online presence, really. So.
No, he really didn't have an online presence. Really, he didn't. I would say, you're very right, actually. He didn't even have. I think he normally used his own personal account for the big brand that he was. And then he was inactive also on that personal account for 6 long months. So when he explained to me, and I noticed how much of an influence he was, I said, Galamkani really has a lot of influence in the corporate world, even among so many people. Then I just made a suggestion to him. I said, Galamkani, actually, I'm a social media expert. Maybe I can help you revamp your socials. I can manage that for you. And for me, I was like, is he even going to accept? I'll be honest. I was just throwing, like, we're just having a conversation. No, I can do that for you if you don't mind. But I'm thinking, I don't even know if you accept. Ungachite, I want to cheat in a way. Segula, no, seriously, segula little siku so. We post something, and I tell you, that moment, the moment he accepted for me to do that, was like me being paid $1 million today. I felt like something magical happening. Like, I'll be managing a platform for this big man. And I already knew the level of impact that he would immediately bring once that page was opened. But also, silently, I looked at the opportunities that I would also get in the process. So I remember going back home. It was very near with my house. I would only walk for 15 minutes. So I went back home, took my phone, looked at his best photos from his account, set up the page, blah, 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 blah. And I did the first posting in the evening. Then I showed him. Na post it checking in. Wakachabu, the traction was massive. Massive. Oh, you're back. We missed you. No, you should mentor us, mentor. The second posting, I'll consider mentoring. Then I began to advise him. I think, Galamkani, people love to hear you speak. They like your voice. You should consider doing a video. That was like after we did 3 postings. Blog postings. So I choreographed the video for him. I said, okay, you know what? What would you like to talk about? Okay, I think maybe for the first time, talk about the fact that you're back.
I am back.
You're back, yes. So talk about the fact that you're back and what you are willing to do for them in your season 2 of life. So I scripted that for him. Like 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. Just putting pointers. So you speak to this. Okay, cool. So got Lord Dag. I don't know if you know Lord Dag.
Yes.
Got Lord Dag on board. Shoot this video. So I was not even around. I was home. So the video is shot. Then he sent me the MP4. I am back. I'm like, wow, this video is dope.
Yeah.
And it was short, precise. I think it was about 4 to 5 minutes at the time. But I was explaining everything that he was intending to do for his people and the fact that he was going into mentorship now in his second season of life, giving back. and all that, the response was super, super overwhelming.
Yeah.
There was a group that was established that I was admin. We had over 100 people get onto the platform within a day.
Yeah.
Within a day.
And I think there was a charge attached.
There was a charge attached to it, yes. He was only charging 100 kwacha though.
Yeah.
But if you remember quite well, that was the time COVID-19 was just getting started.
Yes.
So now people were trying to find ways on how they could be inspired to actually do things, even during COVID. So now Kalamkani comes on board with solutions.
Yeah.
So I can mentor you. You know, during COVID-19, you can do ABCD. You can do ABCD. So I have a platform here. Join the platform.
Yeah.
Oh, it was crazy. It was crazy. I had so many people come on board. And, you know, each time, you know, I'm managing this platform online, I keep seeing people being added onto the group like every 15 minutes.
Yes.
One person every 15 minutes, every 15 minutes. I'm like, wow, this thing is growing. So now I found myself visiting Galamkani every 2 days.
Yep.
I was like a homeboy now. I was like the son of the house.
Yeah.
Every 2 days of the week, I'm going there. Tuesday, Thursday, sometimes even Sunday.
And remember, funny thing, I think we even did a photo shoot.
We did
That was, I think, the last family photo shoot.
I remember
like
quite
before,
well. I think it was 2020, 2021?
2020 or 2021.
Somewhere there, yes.
Yeah.
But I would go there all the time, I would go have meals. The wife loved me so much. The kids loved me. Everybody did. The moment I came through, everybody was so happy.
Yeah.
Extremely happy.
Yeah.
So I was, and I remember very well because I was the one who would shoot his videos, his live videos.
Yeah.
I would just use my phone.
Yes.
That's all. Nothing complicated. So we made a day to say, okay, every Thursday, we're going to do a live video on his platform.
Yes.
Where we'll talk about anything. Then every Sunday, we'll do a group for his private mentorship.
Yeah.
So we'll do that twice in a week. And I remember every time it was Thursday and Sunday, I would look forward to going to his house.
Yeah.
I didn't ask him for transport money. Nothing. Of course, he had an obligation to give me transport money, right?
Yeah.
Because I was going to shoot. I didn't mind. I never asked for any money. I walked to his house. I walked back at 22 hours. Because each time we'd shoot that video, it used to be shot at 20 hours on Thursday. The one on Sunday used to be shot at 20 hours as well. Now you can imagine you're getting there, say, at 19:30. You're shooting the video maybe from 20 to 20:30 or 20:45. Then you have a meal. So you're leaving the place maybe at 21:30. And I'd walk back home.
Yeah.
I would normally get home at 22 hours. Every 2-3 times a week.
Yeah.
I never asked to be dropped. I don't even know where I really got that because I had every right to say, "Ni pass in transport, ni pass in transport." I never asked for that.
But you see, like, and speaking on it, this is what, like, most young people who are going into business or quote unquote want mentorship, they want a mentor to as well pay them when the benefits which you get outweigh what you would want or demand.
Definitely.
Because I'm looking at it to say, look, you are managing his platform. And on his platform, you even see a message.
Yes, I would
like
say a lot of those.
Dr. Rosie
I would say a lot of those.
Dr.
A
Chole,
lot,
like,
a
and
lot.
you, those experiences give you more than what money could buy because it gets you a seat at the table there.
It did.
Yeah.
You know, Chibamba Kanyama is Ambassador Chibamba Kanyama, rather.
Yeah.
He's an influential figure in society.
Yes.
Very influential. And seeing him coming to visit Galamkan at home, and I'm meeting him, and then he's introducing me to Ambassador Chibamba Kanyama. This is my young man, he's managing my platform.
Ndiye machatuma video.
Then I meet him and all that. I remember, and this is one thing that I must say when Galamkan was still alive. I remember Ambassador Chibamba Kanyama having a problem with his socials at some point. And he calls me. Dalitso, hi, how are you? I got your number from Galamkani. Yes, I have a problem with my socials. Something has happened here, and I'm trying to figure it out, but I'm struggling.
Yeah.
Can you help me out? Where are you? Then I said, I'm home. Oh, okay. So now, immediately said, I'm home. I'm thinking, this is a very influential figure.
Yes. I have to meet him somewhere.
I have to meet him somewhere. We can meet at a central point, or I'll have to go to his house.
Yeah.
And I'm ready to do that because, I mean, he's Chibamba Kanyama. What do you expect?
Yep.
So probably if he said, you can come here, maybe he sends me transport money and I get there, I'll still have to have the trouble to go to his house.
Yep.
But you know what he tells me? He says, I can drive to your house. And by then, Ambassador Chibamba Kanyama, I was just appointed as ambassador. That was in 2022.
Yes.
Early 2022 or mid, somewhere, if not mistaken.
Yeah.
He had just been appointed, but then he traveled to America, I think 3 months later. So the time he came to my house, he was ambassador.
Yes.
And he calls me and says, I'm coming to your house. Give me directions. And I sent him location. And he comes to my house. And he sits on my couch. And I direct him. And then he leaves. We take a photo. Then he gets that narrative and posts it on his platform.
Yes.
And he tags me.
Yeah.
No, you need to know this person, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. He's helped me, ABCD. The traction I got when he just posted me on his platform was insane.
Yeah.
You have no idea. The inboxes I got. But all that was as a result of Kalamkani. And I think it speaks to the question that you asked me, how did you strike the difference between him being a mentor and you offering that service to him? For me, I think it was some kind of a relationship that was very intimate that I developed with him. And that's the more reason why I said, I think if there's a person who really benefited immensely from his mentorship, it was me, because he was directly mentoring me.
Yep.
I didn't sit at his table, then he begins to mentor me. No. But he mentored people, and I was the admin. Yep. He went to organizations, and I'm following him. So I'm listening to whatever he's saying. For me, that was direct mentorship to me. Yep. Every time I was with him, I can't even remember. He exposed me to so many organizations. I remember going to an organization called, I've forgotten the name, but they're an agri firm. So they were meeting for an end-of-year party. That was in 2021, December. So they wanted him to give a talk. And I took him there. And remember, he had this oxygen machine.
Yeah.
So now I had to be given the responsibility by the wife to handle his health on that particular day because she was busy.
Yes.
Now you can imagine how big a task that was. So his health was in my hands.
Yep.
So he has this machine here. So anything that happens, I have to find a way to navigate that. But then I understood everything that was in play because I was always spending time with him.
Yep.
And so when I carried him in the car, put the machine behind, we got there, I drop him off, I put back the machine, I'm taking him there. I'm always monitoring him because there was a time where you could easily remove the machine, but he could speak maybe for 30 minutes. But the moment I begin to notice that he's running out of breath, I must quickly connect that machine back. So I had to monitor. So he's speaking, he doesn't have it, it's by the side. Then he's speaking. The moment he signals me, I must go back, connect the machine, and put it back here. So that had to be done within 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Every time. So I developed that relationship with him where he would come to my house.
And you were pretty much entrusted with his life.
No, I was entrusted with his life, to be honest with you. I remember there's a time he had no power at home. This is Zesco thing. He came over to my house at 10 in the morning. The wife dropped him. And because the wife was busy, so she couldn't be there the whole day.
Yeah.
But then because I was working from home,
Yeah.
so she left him at my house. I had electricity. I put Netflix for him. He started watching, and he had the machine here. I prepared lunch. I gave him and all that. And I always had to be checking him. Chidi Banj, you know, and stuff like that. So I think also, besides the wife, I think without really bragging, I was that person that was his right-hand person. I think where things really mattered, especially where his business was concerned, because every time he always picked me up for those assignments. Yep. Yeah. Awesome. So it was a beautiful relationship, I must be honest. He opened doors for me, and I still remember him a lot. I miss him so much.
One of the quotes which always lives rent free is businessman asakangaye na chifugu.
That one is great. I keep playing that video all the time. That one is dope. That one is massive. Yeah. It's a very, very beautiful quote because I've also learned it and applied it in my business. You're a business person, you're an entrepreneur, right? You're doing stuff and you're dealing with so many clients, isn't it? Without doubt. Yeah, I think the last 7-8 years of your active practice, you've probably dealt with over 200 clients. True. Organizations, individuals, maybe even over 5,000. Yeah, right. there's an exchange, there's a transaction that happens there. You offer a service, they give you money,
Yep.
right? Unless you do things for free, you tell me. But I know there's times where we've done them for free, pro bono, especially when there's an agreement. But you agree with me, Dennis, that in the course of discharging our assignments, we might cross paths with our clients. Is it?
Yep.
Unless you tell me you have never had a conflict with a client. Then I will be shocked. Even the most
To
successful...
just get paid, you take 7 months.
It takes 7 months. So in the process of just getting paid,
Yeah.
you might get into a conflict with a client.
Yeah.
It is normal, right? Because you're human at the end of the day. But you must be able to know when to draw the line,
Yeah.
right? That's the fundamental aspect. So where do you draw the line between being professional and also wanting your stuff? You must be able to draw the line. And that's why that aspect of a businessman as a kind of focus. So you are knowing, okay, fine, apa, nakalipa, but this is where I can draw the line.
Yeah.
Where even because I this is what I do mostly. I've had engagements with clients where I have upset them. They are not happy
Yeah.
with maybe how I could have provided the service at that particular time.
Yep.
Or maybe I'm not happy with the way they serviced me in terms of paying me.
Yep.
Or maybe discharging some particular responsibility. Maybe that was embedded in the contract, right? But then it's that thing where I, at some point now, must soften up because I know that from this particular client, they could still come back or they could refer me. So if I completely mess it up here, I might not have another opportunity. So you must be able to strike a balance, especially where you're dealing with certain clients. You should know to say, okay, this is the furthest I can go.
Yeah.
I will tell you this. There are some other clients that, even up to now, still owe me money. They're there.
Yep.
They owe me.
Yep.
But deliberately, I said, okay, fine. It's easy for me to take them to court. Very, very easy.
True.
But I said, okay, you know what? For the sake of the relationship that I have with them, I'm still not going to lose out, even though I did not pursue this. So I'll leave it at that. If they're going to pay me at some point in the future, that's fine.
Yep.
If they decide not to pay me, that's okay. You understand, right? So for me, I think it's a question of emotional intelligence
Yep.
that has to be employed in business. Being able to understand who you can pursue and who you can't pursue, to what extent can you pursue.
Yep.
It's a question of those decisions, and I'm sure you do make those decisions as well.
Yeah. All the time. Like
You have to make those decisions. You know whom to pursue, whom you can't.
you go back to accounting, bad debt written off. Like,
But dates written,
Yeah.
who you? Okay, let's just write off. Who you? Let's just write off. But we'll still maintain the relationship.
yeah.
But we'll just write it off. So those are business decisions that you have to make.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, as an kind of businessman.
Awesome stuff. Look, we'll continue chatting because but what are we expecting this year from you?
Okay, the biggest thing that we're doing, obviously, is the launch. I think this is where my energies are being directed to. We already have developed a very extensive project plan that is leading towards the launch.
Yeah.
I think we've gone 40 to 50% in terms of preps. Yeah, it's poised to be one of the biggest launches in the country, if not mistaken.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm very confident because I think what we're putting on the table is massive. We are looking at attacking the market next year in a very different way. Yeah, remember, ours is innovation, and what we're trying to do is to make sure that we can be set apart, we can do what we do as uniquely as possible,
Yep.
but also make sure that we are providing what the market needs. And so for me and Growth Innovate, this is what we're really working towards, just to make sure that we are effectively building momentum towards that. And yeah, that's the focus really. Of course, I'm still working. There's still a lot of organizations and clients that we're still dealing with.
Yep.
But I think for me, that is really the focus. So everything that we're doing is directed towards the launch.
So where will all those details be? To be on which platform do people get to follow to make sure that
definitely. I think the full details for that should be availed to the masses by end of next month.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm planning on doing a video that I think will talk about the launch in detail because that's important. People need to know exactly who we are. So I'm pretty sure that by end of July, that should be available. Going into August, we should even be able to have some tickets on sale. Yeah. So obviously tickets will be on sale. It's not a free thing because of what we're putting in. Yeah. But obviously reasonable enough for you to be able to attend. But it's something massive. Obviously, sponsors are coming on board. It would be a great opportunity for people to sponsor. If anybody can't sponsor on this event that we're having, they just don't know what they want. Because I'll provide the platform. I'll provide the people that are influential enough to come on board. The media houses will be there. Hoping you guys will be there as well. Definitely. So it's something that's big that even every sponsor would like to come on board and showcase what they're capable of doing. So I'm bringing entrepreneurs together. I'm bringing the corporate world together. I'm bringing a lot of people together and see how best we can interact and see what 2026 holds for us.
Awesome. Well, it's an election year, though. Anyways.
Yay, it's an election year.
It makes the money flow more fast as well. So.
Being very strategic as well.
Yeah. Awesome. Look, so what are 3 things you'd tell an entrepreneur who's starting business? What are those 3 key things one should hold on to?
Okay, great. One is basically actualizing your idea. Everybody has ideas. We all have it. I don't think there's anybody who doesn't generate ideas. Everybody does. He's generating ideas here. The moment he steps out, he'll probably go home. He's going to have an idea. You have ideas. We all have ideas and everything. But the key thing is now converting those ideas into reality. I know Dr. Cholwe has written a book on that.
Yes.
The critical aspect is having that idea, but converting and implementing that idea into reality. So that would be my first point for everybody out there who wants to do great stuff, massive stuff, should implement their ideas. That's the first thing. The second one is consistency. I had an interesting conversation with Coach Emmanuel Mukula yesterday or the other day, where one of the key aspects he did mention was consistency. That resonated with me a lot more. I think for me, that's one of my fundamental aspects of business. You need to be consistent, regardless of the product that you're providing in the marketplace, regardless of who you are as a person. People must know you as a consistent person. Whatever you talk about, whatever you do, whatever you say, consistency is very, very critical. So if you're running a business today, what are you known for? Be consistent on that. If you're a vlogger, you're a blogger, what are you known for? Be consistent towards that, right? So consistency is very, very critical. And the last part, I think, is awareness. People need to know who you are. So when I talk about awareness, there's vital elements of branding there. There's vital elements of visibility and all that. So I know people who have great ideas, people who are doing massive stuff out there, but we don't know them. We have no idea of who they are. I meet them every day. I don't know who you are. So how can I know who you are? You need to be visible. You need to be aware. How can you make yourself available? Take advantage of the platforms that are available today. Today, I think media is permissionless leverage. You don't need permission for it, right? I think previously you'd probably need permission because the permission that you'd be granted is through paid permission. You had to go to a local radio, TV station, but you have to pay heftily for that. But today, you can actually do it for almost zero. So who are you? You've got great ideas, you want to do stuff, but we don't know who you are. So you need to be visible. If you're a vlogger, you have great pointers. I need to know who you are so that I can resonate with your ideals. So visibility, awareness is very critical. Consistency, very critical. You need to convert your ideas, implement your ideas. Those are my 3 things.
Awesome. And actually, great point on awareness. I saw a post somebody shared to say, oh no, this person who got promoted isn't as highly skillful as I am.
Yes.
They don't. But the mentor got back and said, look, I went to their social media. They are loud about whatever achievement. It can be a worthless achievement, which they did, but they're posting it on their LinkedIn. They're sharing it on their Facebook, and they are garnering numbers. They have great face value. So you can't, people want to know your heart, to say your heart is in the right place, and they know that you're skilled in that place.
And just to add on that, I know we're closing on this, and this is just where the unfairness of life is. I think life was never meant to be fair. When I was growing up as a young person, I thought life was linear. And as you grow older and older, life is not necessarily linear. It's not. Life will never treat you on how you want to be treated. No, you have to gravitate. You have to grab the bull by its horns yourself and make life out of it. So if you're going to be in a space, and this has happened even in my previous organization, I have people who are very educated, up to master's degree level. But they never get the opportunities. So are we saying they're not educated enough? And they'll complain, they don't see me, they don't see me. Of course, it's possible. You could be having a boss who's so jealous of you, right? Or who's not competent enough to notice you. But you see, the universe sees. If you are able to get out there and make people see what you do, that's all. So you could not be in that same space that you are, but somebody out there will be able to spot that opportunity to say, I think this guy is being treated unfairly where he is, despite all these things that he is doing. And that's where you get opportunities. So the universe, you magnetize if you are going to be deliberate about who you want to be and how you want the world to portray you, to perceive you. You begin to attract and magnetize everything towards you. So just adding to that, it's important for people to get to that level.
Awesome. This has been a great conversation, greatly impacted, and I think I'll continue raising more awareness.
Absolutely.
Because, sometimes you'll be like, oh, this is a great podcast, but then very few people are watching. But actually, actually speaking on that, I think one of the things we've done right now is that we've brought in somebody who will be tasked to flood socials with the podcast content, like no man's business.
Wow. Wow.
So it's that thing, because we've shot actually, this is our 50th episode. Thank you. This is a milestone episode, actually, like a 50th episode.
Congratulations to Umubanga podcast. I'm pretty sure you guys have lots and lots of content.
Yes, so
you
we
guys
have that.
it.
So
because just from this episode, I don't know how many
clips will come
clips
from
you
this.
have from it. 100 of them.
So I think we noticed when we shared, I think one episode gained us over 2,500 subscribers, followers on TikTok.
One episode?
Yes, and that was in a space of 3 days. So now, with all this content, we just need to raise awareness and reach the people. So
definitely. Your podcast is headed. I think you have one of the fewest podcasts we have in the country. Yeah, and I'm happy. You're one of those first ones who have caught the wave. Yeah, and catching the wave is very important early enough. The issue of podcasts really came into Zambia 2-3 years ago. Yeah, and I've seen quite a good number of them around. And you guys have come on board. Trust me, you're headed the right direction.
Thank you.
Yeah, by the time we're having other podcasts, you guys will have cemented your legacy already.
Awesome. So thank you very much, Dalitso. This has been a great conversation, and I hope our viewers have been informed, transformed, as well as inspired. So, ladies and gentlemen, continue watching. Make sure you subscribe, follow us, follow Dalitso, and see what he's doing. And you'll be amazed at the many posts which he puts up, the many people he gets to highlight and just talk about. So, you will do yourself a great service if you're an entrepreneur, if you need business consultancy. He's the guy. So from me, Dennis Umubanga, and Dalitso, we say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.